if you're trying to be too jokey. It's funny in spots, I hope, and I hope that, maybe, I'm gonna do the audio so maybe that'll help take the edge off of some of the seriousness of some of the stuff, but I feel like you just gotta sit in it sometimes. You just gotta sit in it and just be honest about, what it is. There's a part in there in the book that I kind of went back and forth about even mentioning, and partly because I know it's going to start some mess between me and my mom, because I'm not that close with my father's side. All of my half siblings were varying degrees of personable. There's no drama, but we're not like, we don't call each other on birthdays. So it's that loosey-goosey type thing. So, the idea of, like you gotta keep in mind, I'm writing this book for my son to read. It's not for everybody else to read. He's the one that for sure gotta understand, it's okay to feel like this, it's okay to acknowledge this, it's okay to say that this happened to you. So if I'm gonna teach him that, the only way I can do that is show him. So I gotta acknowledge some of the stuff that happens, so I gotta say it, so I gotta own it. And some of it's not funny. My pops died hating me over something that I did not do. And our final conversation reflected a lot of that. And that's partly because of family member. They gave him bad intel. And so the degradation of our relationship within the last year of his life, that played a role. But it wasn't until I had my son that I even realized that was there. Like, you have a kid, you have your first child, man, you unlock a whole bunch of stuff up in your emotional attic that you didn't even know was there. And you're either trying to protect your child from having the same life that you had, or you're trying to give them the same life you had, depending on the type of what you think of what your upbringing. So I had a father that I did not know a lot about, who did not give me a lot of advice. So if I die tomorrow, this book is here to keep that from happening to my son. So that's the baseline of where it starts, right? So if I'm gonna do that, then I need to put everything in here that is even remotely close to something you may experience in this world. And I can't cut corners with jokes if it doesn't fit. We had a conversation, and without giving a lot of it away, but my last conversation with my father was a missed moment. Just put it that way. It was a missed moment. He passed from prostate cancer, and he was pretty coherent until about, 4 to 6 weeks before the end. And there were moments throughout that year where our relationship just got worse. And I don't know how much to put off of that, cancer, frustration to me, wasn't himself, whatever. But the fact still remains, I'm 16, man, I'm processing, I don't know what you're going through. All I know is that I act like this, and you treat me like this. But that doesn't feel good, so I'm gonna stop coming around. I don't like being treated like that. And so, there was that last conversation, this moment. But even still, now as a man, you should assess. If you had something to say to a 16-year-old boy, you open your mouth as a fucking man, you say it. Don't mince words and talk around it. Say what you gotta say, man. So the way that I try to stopgap that generationally is to create an atmosphere with my son where I will always say what's on my mind and create an atmosphere with him to always tell me. So you'll never get in trouble for telling me what you feel. Your feelings will never get you in trouble. Right? Even if I don't agree with it, tell me exactly what you feel. And I never felt that freedom with my pops. To just go, hey, why did you do this? Or why did you choose? You and my mama got in an argument and then you didn't give me lunch money that week. What that got to do with me, man? I'm hungry. You know? So now, if I'm on the bus, I'm on the school bus playing spades and talk for money, just so I can eat on Wednesday. I got to win this spade from that. So this idea of like even going around and raking leaves, and I talk a little bit about, and I feel like this is, it's to a detriment to myself, but it is, the idea of not wanting to be a burden on my mother is why I stole clothes in college. Because I always felt like a burden growing up because money was tight. Because you controlled the faucet. So you feel like you want to make sure that your kids never feel like they can't say anything. And the only way for my son to feel comfortable being open with me is for me to always be open with him and allow him to have tough conversations. Why you and mama don't live together no more? Hey, like Jess, let's talk about it. The kids are talking trash to you about it. You go to some of these schools, and if you're in a co-parenting situation, somehow that lowers your social stop because your parents ain't married. Okay, cool. Let's talk about ways to navigate that. Here's a list of insults to throw at your kids. Not literally, but when you're talking about having a realization that from the 7th grade, you wasn't sure if your pops was gonna say yes to something that you knew your mama didn't have money for. So you've always figured out ways to make money and to be self-sufficient. It is my greatest skill. It is my greatest weakness. Because I've never wanted to need it, so I don't ask for help. And that's not a good thing in the long run. And that's something I still try to. I still cope with that. I still try to put it. So even something as simple as asking my son for help, I do it so that he will know it's okay to ask for help. So that's how you try to fix it. But I can't joke about something until I've processed it. A lot of this book, it was just, here's the truth, there it is. I mean, even the idea of, there were great editors, Matt Inman and Crown, they were very good in helping me shape the story. But even something as simple as someone else writing it and me telling it to them and then me looking at it and tweaking it no, give me the laptop. I will do this. And in between gigs, I will voice note and then transcribe, send that to Rev and transcribe 2 hours of me yapping in a car and then look at the transcription and move it like I want, because I'm still processing it. So I don't even know if you can help me write this, because I'm still, every day I sit down in front of this damn computer and I'm discovering something new about myself or my family or my pops or why I am the way I am, and I don't have time to make that funny yet. So the stuff that's funny is funny. The stuff that's real just had to be real.
So you've had a long time to examine the nature of mentorship. Imagine through this process, and I'm curious, as you've found yourself along the way with friends and fellow comedians and happenstance, have you found a pattern of what characteristics make somebody an effective mentor, even if they're not aware that they're one?
Patience and honesty. That's it. I don't really, there's a lot of young comedians that refer to me as Unc. And, you won't be, like, I have a reputation within the stand-up world of giving good advice or whatever, but I'm not, I don't want to say I'm not trying, but I'm just telling you what I think. Hey man, I think this, do this, in your career, you should work with that person. All right, man, see you tomorrow. Like, it's not even thinking in the sense of, I must reach this person today, and today is the day that the nugget, the seed will plant. Because you plant a seed, it's not gonna lay roots right then and sprout, it takes forever. So I'm just kind, and I try to give as open and honest a perspective as I can to people, and that's it, I think the idea of, ironically, the idea of formal mentorship scares me. Like, people go, yeah, mentor me. Well, I don't know how to teach this. I don't know how to teach you how to be a better you. I can just tell you what my approach has been. But, like, to just be out in the world and be decent to people. For me, the book is a collection of people who were decent to me, who I happened to learn lessons from. But when you say, be a mentor, be my mentor, will you guide me, that suggests that you have this expectation of me that I have a curriculum and a layout and a paint the fence and wax on, wax off. And I don't have any of that. All I have is just what I do, and you can observe. Hey, come be around it. Come hang. Like we shot a pilot for Comedy Central in Birmingham for a sitcom that I was trying to do at the time, pre-COVID, and it was like 90 people on crew, of which about 65 to 70 were Alabama residents. And that was a big deal because, to me, these were people who weren't necessarily getting opportunities in film and production in Atlanta, in New Orleans. So, excuse me. So we also had people on set who I knew wanted to get into film and TV and were curious about it. Here's a badge, just stand far away, watch. But I don't have the ability to tell you the specific thing or whatever, but it's just a 16-year-old kid seeing something that I know for a fact has never been done before in this city. And sometimes just seeing it is enough for you to go home and be curious about it and be more inquisitive about what's happening beyond the horizon, Because that's what worked for me, We grew up in Birmingham. I didn't even know the city had a comedy club until I left for college. And I saw Ricky Smiley, who was a huge syndicated host and author, and Ricky was he was my senior, in Birmingham. He was the first comedian from the city to really make it in the mid to late 90s during the Def Jam Black Comedy boom. So I saw Ricky Smiley on TV, and he's screaming Alabama every time he's on TV. And man, it made me so proud, and it validified, that's not a word. It's like 2 copy editors in here right now. It validated for me that I could be from this place that Goody Mob calls it the parts they disregard. So you can be from the parts they disregard and still have something that's of worth to the world. So seeing Ricky validated that for me, and that was enough for me to do my first open mic. Did he mentor me? Yes or no? So if I know that seeing someone from Birmingham can inspire me. All right, well then anytime I'm on TV, I'm gonna say Birmingham, I'm gonna say Alabama. All right, I'm doing something back home, you know what? Bring the theater department from whatever high school, let them come and look at the shit. You know, that'll help. I mean, like, I get, like, it's the most I can do at the time. So is that mentorship? I don't know, but is it inspiring? Does it plant a seed? I hope so. So I'm good at that because it feels a little more hands off, and I don't feel the pressure of the responsibility. Because also, when you're dealing with mentorship programs, a lot of times, man, you're dealing with kids that are in some tough jams. You know, my pops was for sure around for discipline. You know, and a lot of the way he moved professionally should be celebrated. So it wasn't like I was completely without a man in the house. Whereas when you're dealing with a formal, proper mentorship program, there are a lot of kids in impossible situations. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I don't know if emotionally if I can even carry that because I can't even relate. We spoke at I was in Cleveland a couple of weeks ago, and with Campaign Zero, they do a situation over there where they have entertainers come and speak at the juvenile detention center. And we spoke with some of the detention center employees, and sometimes there's other groups that go in and talk to the actual residents there, but I was there specifically for the employees and what they go through. And, you know, it's a thankless job. It's tough. And they're telling me stories about kids who can get out of the juvenile detention cycle and be sent to a program that's supposed to, let's just say, part of your work release is to learn how to cook. So you have to go to the place that teaches teenagers how to cook, but the bus route takes you through rival gang territory. So you can't even go do the thing that'll better you because you might get killed on the way there. So instead of going there, you stay in your own hood and end up back in the cycle. That's heavy. Run for it.
Well, I'm going to ask one more question, I think, before I give it up to a couple of folks who might have a few minutes for questions.
Okay.
Cards on table, Roy, I'm not a father or a parent, but I felt validated myself in terms of your approach to mentorship, because as a library worker providing access, just letting people see, creates like opportunity, and it creates this idea that why not me? Why can't I discover? And so as I kind of pull back and think about how your work is influencing and informing ours today, I'm curious about the ways that you've spoken about the importance of having people in your life who gave you a vision and what is possible. And the advocacy work of librarians is making sure every person has access to stories and information that opens new visions for them. And so I'm curious if you have any thoughts about how public storytelling, whether it's memoir or stand-up or in library stacks, can serve as a form of advocacy.
It 1,000,000% serves as a form of advocacy, because even if they're policing books and, you know, banning books and taking books out of places, these books still exist, and there's still the need for human connection and conversation. Through conversation, you can find what it is you need and what it is that will actually help you. You know, I grew up going to the 5 Points West Library in Birmingham. And it's in a new location now, but at the time it was perfectly right across from a McDonald's. And I get an apple pie, I'd sneak it in. And learn computer literacy. I learned computers at that library. Get the books on tape, take those books home, listen to them. And that's back when they had the books on tape of the movies that were out. And so Star Trek and Gremlins and just everything. Because please flip the cassette to side 2. So, you know, the idea of remaining connected and in conversation with people, to me, that is the highest form, you know, of advocacy. I just want to make sure, and the thing that I learned the most from my time at The Daily Show is that you can always feel like you're not doing enough, And then you'll look at your body of work if you're not careful and feel like it doesn't match up to someone else's, or I didn't do everything I could have done. You know, don't exhaust yourself. Give what you can, and then when you feel ready to, give a little more. But don't. It's like I watch these nature docs with my son, and you look at bees and how every bee just has a job within the hive, and their job is their job, and they don't concern themselves with other people's jobs. It's the same thing with firefighting, where when a fire truck gets to the place, everyone has a job. If your job is ventilating the roof, vent the roof. Don't turn around and go, well, I could have been inside with the board. No, you vented the roof. It helped. And I think once you accept that for yourself, then it's easy to make sure that you're choosing yourself somewhere in the midst of this. Because it's funny how like we're so quick to help other people, and the first thing we do is take our name off the list of people to help. So, you know, you gotta be here, you gotta belong. So, you know, when you start talking about advocacy and nonprofit and being philanthropic, it's not about, to me, it's no, at least for me, it's no longer about doing this to a point of physical and emotional exhaustion, and that being the only way that I can feel validated in trying.
I think I want to applaud that. My friends, I think we have time for maybe about 2 questions. So whoever comes up to the mic gets her first.
I started to jot down notes because I've just so been enjoying what you've been sharing today, and thank you for this interview. And I didn't expect it to be that deep and amazing, so thank you. I know there's a question in here, and again, so glad to be first. And if there's any more lights, anyone wants to point it out, that's great. That would be so fun. So my family has a lot of dark humor, and I'm from New York, and I appreciate all of your humor. But again, to speak to what you were describing about your family, I love that you talked about how you can have conflicted feelings, and like, I can't wait for your audiobook. I'm gonna buy your regular book too. But it's, you spoke about it like it was easy, and I know it's not. But that was like, my parents are immigrants, I'm a first generation child. Like, the way you can know that they're working very hard, but maybe they're not there for you as much as you'd like them to be. I just so love that you spoke to that. I'm sure there's a lot of people here. I saw them nodding.
Come on with the question.
So, I guess my question is, can we have a roundtable therapy session? I mean, I didn't get there. I didn't know I was going to be first, and so I was like, I got to get through a question, but I guess I'm just going to say thank you. And I really appreciated everything I had to say. I can't wait to read your book.
Absolutely, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
I've actually thought about that, like for like the when we do like the book tour this fall, like because it's like there's the idea of having conversations like this, which interests me, but then I'm always curious about some of the parts of the book, what those first were for other people as well. Like there's a thing in the book where I talk about the first time I ever saw drugs, like the first time I was in the same room with narcotics, and I was like, I bet you everybody's got a story like that. Well, maybe not everybody, but like just sort of like to the round table therapy part of it, like something light, but then also the, you know, how do you cope with needing to understand someone you can never talk to again? And that's life. Yes.
Well, thank you for the conversation. Professionally, you never seem to shy away from some of the tough topics in your comedy. How do you stay grounded when you get some pushback or negativeness from it?
You can't really worry about it. The only live wire I'm trying to avoid when I'm doing stand-up is that I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't want my point to be misunderstood. So it's very easy to be misunderstood. Now, your words are going to get twisted regardless, which is another thing I learned from the correspondence dinner. But at the correspondence dinner, I tried to be as both-sided as I could with all of the topics, to the point where the next morning, every website, every political leaning had pulled a snippet from my set to justify their point of view. Literally from Fox News to CNN to E! And 50 Cent himself. Everybody had clipped a piece of it to validate what they believed in. So I just think that's gonna happen, so you can't worry about it. I say what I feel, and you have to be very, very, at least I choose to be very specific in the wording and the nuance of it, so that I make sure that I'm not just left to a broader, bigger, perspective on something, like that. So that's what I try to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we got we'll speed through these 4 people that got stuff to get out of there.
So thank you so much. As a fellow author, I really related to some of the